Please marry me, Emmanuel.
Yes, I will marry you, Mama.
Ireti, do you promise to submit, cherish, and obey Emmanuel till death do you part?
Obey who? Obey what?
If you want me to continue this story, quickly click on like and subscribe to get notified when a new story drops. Thank you. Emmanuel Okoye did not grow up with silver spoons. His father died when he was just 12 years old, leaving his mother, Mama Ngozi, to raise 4 children alone. She sold roasted plantain and groundnuts by the roadside from dawn till night. Emmanuel was brilliant in school, but poverty followed him everywhere like a shadow. He finished university with good grades, but no job, no connections, and no money. Each night, he watched his mother struggle and felt helpless. I must change this family's story, he often whispered to himself. So when he met Madam Ireti Balegan, she felt like an answer to his prayer. Madam Ireti has been married before to a wealthy businessman who treated her like property, not a partner. For years, she endured humiliation, infidelity, and emotional abuse. When her husband died suddenly, people expected her to crumble, but instead, she rose, she took over his businesses, worked day and night, and built an empire of her own. Over time, she became powerful, proud, and hardened by life. She trusted no man, feared no man, and respected no man. By the time she turned 52, she had 3 grown children, houses, cars, and influence, but no companion. That was when she met Emmanuel. She saw in him youth, strength, and loyalty. He saw in her security, wealth, and escape from poverty. What began as help slowly turned into marriage. Madam Ireti proposed to Emmanuel one evening at a bar, and he accepted joyfully. When Emmanuel brought Madam Ireti home, his mother nearly collapsed. She sat trembling on her stool. No way, Emmanuel, you are not marrying this woman. She is too old for you. How can I even expect grandchildren from a woman my age? Madam Ireti did not care. She didn't even get angry at her words. She simply watched them smiling. Madam, I don't support your marriage to my son. He is a young man, and you are too old for him. His mother said. Emmanuel shouted at his mother angrily, "You are embarrassing me." Then he stormed out with his fiancée. That evening when he returned, he begged his mother to please accept Madam Ireti. "My son, this woman is my mate. Are you marrying a wife or taking a second mother?" Emmanuel knelt before her. "Mama, I'm tired of suffering. She will take care of us. This is my breakthrough, but that is not a reason to sell your future and happiness. Hustle like men do and you will definitely succeed. Mother, I've made my choice, and I will get married to her with or without you," Emmanuel said as he angrily stormed out. His uncles warned him. When he told his uncles, they were not happy about it. "A woman that old will never submit to you. You will be her servant, not her husband." But Emmanuel refused to listen. Even Madam Ireti's children were furious. Her son roared, "Mother, this boy is my age mate. You are embarrassing us." Her daughter Susan folded her arms and said coldly, "You are making a mockery of this family." Madam Ireti shut them down. "It is my life, my money, and my choice." And so, they pushed ahead with the wedding. The church was filled with spectators, some to bless, many to judge. His mother, uncles, and a few friends attended reluctantly. When the pastor asked the vows, all eyes turned to Madam Ireti. "Ireti, do you promise to submit, cherish, and obey your husband till death do you part?" A sharp laugh escaped her lips. She looked angry immediately. "Obey who? Obey what?" Gasps filled the hall. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Emmanuel's face burned with embarrassment. He leaned close and pleaded, "Please, just say yes for the sake of this ceremony." She stared at him coldly. "I don't obey boys. Lord have mercy," the pastor said as he hurried on, clearly uncomfortable. The damage was done. Emmanuel's authority had already been stripped even in public. That night, they arrived at her grand house. Madam Ireti allowed Emmanuel access to her body, but not her respect. From the next day, his husband's title meant nothing. She turned him into a glorified servant because the only thing that distinguished him from a houseboy was his access to her body. He drove her everywhere, he supervised staff, he carried messages, he ran errands like a houseboy. Neighbors watched in pity. That boy is a paid servant, not a husband. One woman sneered. Emmanuel, although wasn't expecting much from the beginning, he clearly wasn't prepared for the level of maltreatment she meted out to him. But still, he had to swallow his pain. Nobody must know what he was passing through in a marriage that had already begun with mockery. He kept telling himself, with time, she would change. But she didn't. Weeks later, Susan, Madame Iriti's daughter, came visiting. She walked in arrogantly, dropped her bag on the sofa, and looked at Emmanuel like he was beneath her. "Hey you," she said casually, "go to the kitchen and make me something to eat." Emmanuel forced a calm smile. "Susan, there is a chef in this house. I can call her to prepare whatever you want." Susan rolled her eyes. "No. I want you to do it." Something inside him finally broke. He stood tall, his voice firm. "I will not cook for you. By right, I am your stepfather." For the first time since the wedding, he spoke like a man, not a servant. Susan froze in shock. Before anyone could react, Madame Iriti walked in, heard his words, and her face darkened with fury. Madame Iriti did not shout when she entered the sitting room. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than thunder. She stopped in front of Emmanuel, eyes cold, posture commanding. Susan stood behind her with a faint, mocking smile. "So, Madame Iriti began slowly, you now remember that you are a stepfather." Emmanuel was angry. Madame Iriti stepped closer. "You stand in my house, eat my food, drive my cars, sleep on my bed, and enjoy my wealth, yet you cannot make a simple meal for my daughter when she asks you." Her voice grew sharper. "Is cooking beneath you? Or is it only my money that is good enough for you?" Tears welled in Emmanuel's eyes, but he said nothing. Madame Iriti continued brutally, "If you truly want peace in this house, you should focus on doing things that make me happy, not creating drama. What is the big deal in cooking? If Susan says she wants you to do it, why must you challenge her?" Susan folded her arms, clearly satisfied. Emmanuel's chest tightened. His pride battled with his reality. Finally, he bowed his head, tears spilling freely. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Without another word, he walked slowly to the kitchen. The sound of pots and pans echoed through the mansion as he cooked in silence, tears dripping into the sink. Every stir of the pot felt like another piece of his dignity slipping away. When the food was ready, "It's not even sweet," Susan said. Yet she ate it all without thanking him. That night, despite his humiliation, Emmanuel still went to Madame Iriti's bedroom. She called him in, and he comforted her, performed his manly duties, and stayed with her like a devoted husband, even though his heart was breaking. In her house, he lived in luxury. He ate the best meals, he wore expensive clothes, he drove flashy cars, he slept in a grand room, yet nothing belonged to him. Whenever he stepped out, people admired him, but Emmanuel wasn't happy as he pretended to be. He was trapped in a marriage with no affection. One day, Emmanuel got tired of it all, and decided to woo a young lady, someone close to his age so he can enjoy real affection. He met a young lady at a supermarket. He approached her and they started dating. 5 days later, Madame Iriti found out. She visited the young lady and warned her, "Stay away from my husband. You will only bring trouble upon yourself." Terrified, the girl avoided Emmanuel completely. Each time he tried, the same thing happened. Emmanuel felt more trapped. He was living in wealth, yet imprisoned in his own marriage. One night, as he sat alone on the balcony staring at the city lights, he whispered through tears, "God, what have I gotten myself into because of greed?" But there was no one to answer him. As weeks turned into months, Emmanuel grew more restless inside the golden cage of Madame Iriti's mansion. He woke up every day with nothing meaningful to do, no work, no purpose, no sense of achievement. He only existed to drive her, entertain her, run errands, and be available whenever she wanted him. One afternoon, after breakfast, he sat quietly beside her in the living room. She was scrolling through her phone while he stared at the polished marble floor. Taking a deep breath, he finally spoke. "Sugar, I want to talk to you." She glanced at him briefly. "Talk." He shifted uncomfortably. "I've been thinking. I don't want to just stay at home anymore. I want to do something with my life." She raised her eyebrows slightly but said nothing. Encouraged, he continued, "Please, if you can, set me up with a business, something lucrative. That way, I won't always be asking you for money, and I won't feel useless sitting at home all day." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Madame Iriti laughed, not kindly, but mockingly. She dropped her phone and looked straight at him. "Emmanuel, are you serious?" He nodded cautiously. "Yes, I am." She leaned back on the sofa, arms folded. "Let me remind you of something you seem to have forgotten. I did not marry you because I needed a business partner. I married you because I wanted a man who would be available for me." His heart sank. She continued coldly, "Staying at home is exactly what I married you to be doing. So you can always be around when I need you. To drive me, to keep me company, to satisfy me, and to represent me as my husband." Emmanuel felt a knot tighten in his chest. Madame Iriti's voice grew sharper. "I never promised to empower you. I never said I would build your career. I married you for my own comfort, not your ambition." Tears stung his eyes, but he swallowed them. "So, you don't want me to have anything of my own?" he asked softly. She shrugged. "You have me. That should be enough." That night, Emmanuel lay beside her in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling smaller than ever. 2 days later, Emmanuel received a call from his younger sister, Kayameka. Her voice trembled. "Brother, Mama has collapsed." His heart jumped. He rushed to the hospital and found his mother lying weak on a hospital bed, her face pale and sunken. The doctor pulled him aside. "Your mother needs urgent surgery. The cost is 3 million naira." The words hit him like a slap. 3 million. He had no job, no savings, no property. Nothing. Desperate, he drove back to the mansion that night, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. When he entered the room, Madame Iriti was already in bed. He knelt beside her softly. "Sugar, my mother is very sick. The doctor says she needs surgery urgently." Madame Iriti sat up slowly. "How much?" 3 million naira. For a moment, she said nothing, then she folded her arms. "And what exactly do you expect me to do about that?" Emmanuel's breath caught. "Please. You're my wife. She is your mother-in-law. I beg you, help me save her life." Madame Iriti stared at him without pity. "Your mother is not my responsibility. Besides, this same woman rejected me from the very start. She said I was too old for you." Tears streamed down his face. He knelt fully on the floor. "Mama, please, I am begging you. If my mother dies, I will never forgive myself." She looked at him coldly, her expression unreadable. "I can't help you, Emmanuel, I'm sorry," she said with a note of finality. Emmanuel couldn't believe it. The same woman he sold his voice to take care of was dying and he couldn't even help her. The next day, Emmanuel visited the hospital to see his mother. Machines hummed softly beside Mama Ngozi's bed, their steady beeping sounding like a slow countdown. Her face was thin, her lips dry, her breathing shallow. Emmanuel sat beside her, holding her wrinkled hand with both of his. His eyes were swollen from crying, yet more tears still streamed freely. "Mama, you will be fine," he whispered, though even he did not believe it. Mama Ngozi managed a faint smile. "My son. Come closer." He leaned in, his heart trembling. She struggled to speak, her voice weak but filled with truth. Emmanuel. Where is the supposed money you sold your peace for? I warned you against marrying that woman, but you refused to listen. Now you have lost your voice, you have forgotten whose son you are. Now, I am dying and I couldn't even get to see my grandchild. He broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Mama, please don't talk like this. You are not going anywhere. I will get the money. I will save you. She shook her head slowly. I am tired. Life has beaten me enough, it's time to rest. She squeezed his hand gently. Whatever happens, remember who you are. Do not let anyone turn you into a slave. Not even a wife. It's not too late to return. Her breathing grew heavier. Mama, please. Emmanuel cried. She looked at him one last time, her eyes soft with love. My son. Choose your dignity over comfort. Then her hand went limp, the machine gave a long, flat sound, the doctor rushed in, but it was too late. Mama Ngozi was gone. Emmanuel screamed, a raw, painful cry that echoed through the hospital corridor. He collapsed on the floor, holding his chest, his heart shattered into pieces. In that moment, he realized something devastating. He had traded his manhood for luxury, and still lost his mother. The burial of Mama Ngozi was painful in more ways than one. As the grave was being filled with red earth, murmurs spread through the crowd. See fine young man with rich wife, yet his mother died for lack of money. One woman whispered loudly, another scoffed, all these big cars he drives, yet his mother died like a beggar. Some shook their heads in pity. Others mocked him openly. Emmanuel stood silently beside the grave, his face hard, his eyes empty. Every word felt like a blade cutting deeper into his heart. Inside him, shame, anger, and regret wrestled together. After the burial rites, he returned to Madame Ariti's mansion. She met him in the sitting room, sitting comfortably with a glass of wine. She sighed lightly. I'm sorry about your mother, Emmanuel. Death is inevitable. Her tone was casual, distant, almost bored. He looked at her for a long moment, then simply said, "It is fine." And that was all. For 2 weeks, Emmanuel moved through the house like a ghost. He spoke little, ate less, and smiled not at all. Madame Iriti noticed, but she did nothing. One morning, she handed him her bank card. Go and withdraw 2 million naira for me, she said flatly. He took it without argument. At the bank, he stood in line, staring blankly at the floor. When his turn came, he made the withdrawal, placed the cash carefully in a black bag, and walked out. As he drove away, something inside him cracked open. He remembered his mother's weak voice. He remembered kneeling and begging Iriti. He remembered the burial insults. He remembered cooking for Susan in tears. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. For the first time, a dangerous thought filled his mind. If she could let my mother die, why should I remain her prisoner? Without saying a word to anyone, he changed direction. What Emmanuel did not know was this: Madame Iriti had already expected something like this, and she was tracking his every move. So the moment she noticed he was speeding in another direction, her expression hardened. She picked up her phone. Her voice was calm, but cold. "Find him," she said. "He is running away with my money." She barked at her errand boys. Emmanuel drove with his heart pounding, sweat beading on his forehead. Every passing car felt like a threat. Every phone vibration made him flinch. Freedom felt close, yet terrifying. He finally pulled up on a lonely road, trying to think of his next move. Just as he thought he had escaped, his phone rang. It was Madame Iriti. Her voice came through slowly, chillingly calm. "Turn around. Before you make a mistake you cannot undo. Why are you running away with my money?" Emmanuel froze. How did she know? He thought, and for the first time since his marriage, Emmanuel realized something terrifying. He was no longer just fighting a woman with money, but a woman with influence, reach, and eyes everywhere. Before he could truly taste freedom, a car pulled up behind him. Thugs jumped out, rough hands dragging him from the driver's seat. The bag of money was seized. His phone was taken. His protests meant nothing. Silently, he was driven back to the mansion he had tried to escape, a house that looked like a palace, but felt like a prison. They pushed him into the sitting room. Madame Iriti stood waiting, tall, composed, and frighteningly calm. Her face showed no pity, only control. Emmanuel collapsed to his knees. "Mama, please." "I was desperate," he cried. "I was angry you let my mother die. I was ashamed that even with all this wealth, I couldn't save her. I was confused. Please forgive me." She looked down at him as though he were an object, not a husband. Her voice was cold as iron. "So this is how you repay my generosity? Stealing from me under my roof?" He sobbed openly now. "I never meant to steal. I just wanted to breathe. To feel like a man again." She did not soften. Instead, she turned to the men beside her. "Teach him what happens when a property misbehaves." They obeyed. Emmanuel's cries echoed through the compound as workers looked away and neighbors whispered behind their walls. When it was over, he lay bruised, humiliated, and trembling, broken in body and spirit. Madame Iriti looked at him one last time and walked away without a word. Later that night, she called him into the bedroom as though nothing had happened. "I need you. Come and perform your duty," she said, not looking at him. His body throbbed with pain. His face was swollen. His heart was shattered. Is this woman for real? He wondered bitterly. She begged me to marry her. I should have listened to my mother. I can't tonight, he said weakly. My body is hurting. She turned sharply. My needs don't stop because you made foolish decisions. That night, Emmanuel lay beside her feeling empty, violated, and defeated, not a husband, not a partner, not even a man in his own eyes. Sleep did not come. The following day, Emmanuel began to dig deeper into Madame Iriti's past. He learned about her first marriage, how she had been abused, broken, and humiliated. He saw how pain had hardened her, and how wealth had become her weapon. In that moment, Emmanuel made a decision. Even if he left with nothing, it was better than remaining a prey in the hands of a heartless predator. The next day, while Madame Iriti was at work, Emmanuel packed a small bag. He carried only the clothes he arrived with, careful not to take anything that belonged to her. At the doorway, he paused and looked back at the luxurious house one last time. I came here chasing comfort, he whispered. I live here chasing dignity. Then he stepped out quietly, not as a runaway servant, but as a broken man choosing rebirth. He walked through the gate on foot. No car, no status, no wealth, just a man with nothing. But finally, with his soul, Madame Iriti returned home to his absence. Seeing that he had taken nothing of hers, she did not search for him. She moved on in bitterness, already hunting for her next prey. Emmanuel learned the hard way that marrying a rich woman is not a shortcut out of poverty. This story reminds us that a life of ease and luxury is meaningless if it costs your dignity and independence. True strength lies in standing up for yourself, even when it means starting from zero. Warnings from loved ones matter. Emmanuel ignored his mother and uncles, and paid the price. Money does not equal love. Wealth does not guarantee respect. Physical riches may be controlled by others, but dignity and moral integrity are yours to protect. Thank you for watching. We'll meet again to share another story. Until then, bye.